Hey, it's just Trish. And yes, I'm in the schoolhouse. It has been a long time since I've been in the schoolhouse. I mean, like, a long time. To actually sit in the schoolhouse. Wow. So I'm going to say the last time I literally made a video from this place, I was in a whole different place in my life, emotionally. You can look at it right up here. It'll be right here if you want to go back that far. And I guess that's the real part about how much life changes and how much you change without even realizing you're changing. So at that time, I was coming out of the fact of being in a really bad funk. I would say it's actually, I started making videos in a really hard spot in my life, and it was what got me going each day, as crazy as that sounds. But coming out of postpartum, wrapped up in mold, and my house flooded. And yet I have to say, as broken as I was feeling at the moment, I was probably living my best life. And sometimes that happens. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about the journey of spending a year in a pair of teacher shoes. That's what I did this year. And I have to say, in so many aspects, I'm not going to say it's perfect. It made me realize how much to appreciate what I no longer was appreciating. As a homeschool burnout mom, I was done. In fact, I can give you a video here of me just being in tears, being done. My marriage was rough. Homeschooling was rough. And I felt like I lost myself in all of it. And as crazy as it sounds, because I'm an engineer, I decided it would be easier to stay with my kids and go to the school system. And I lasted for a few months. I came home. And then this year, right before the school year started, they called me to come back. And I'd already kind of given my consideration of putting my kids in. So I'm like, you know what? My kids are already going to be in. That's fine. So I thought the goal was I was going to take care of me. Did not happen. I was going to take care of me and put my kids in school. And I ended up going to school with them too. Like last minute, unprepared. And it has been a roller coaster. So here's what I'll tell you about teaching school. I feel blessed that God has given me a heart to love those children. Wanting to teach them math every day? Not so much. Not so much. Trying to explain why this is important to them? Not so much. But sticking through it for the whole year, I have 19 days to go and counting. I'm looking at where do we go from here. I will tell you, it is not staying in the school system. I'm done with that. I love those children very dearly, but the laziness is off the charts. Lazy, the discipline. And I don't know if it's every district. I don't know if it's our district. I heard it's every district. But they just don't want to try. And so my kids kind of show up above and beyond because they're being lazy by my terms and they're blowing these kids out of the water. But now I'm watching my kids get lazy. I'm watching how desensitized they are to topics that I don't want spoken in front of my little kids. Yeah, not great. I'm watching as I'm seeing the curriculum being reduced to where the majority will just make an effort and literally being told what to write and they're not retaining anything. They have the retention. And so what I've come to realize is there's no perfect curriculum. And I say that in a way of, I literally have in front of me, not all, but I have one of the many algebra curriculums I own. But wait, there's more. I have more than this. I literally have more than this. Oh, the dust in here is going to make me. I have more than that. And I would go in vain. In fact, that's why you have so many videos of so much curriculum I've done looking for the right curriculum. There's no right curriculum. And I think that's really helped me this year. Seeing how to have a plan of action of like, what do I need to teach? Now, of course, we are teaching an abbreviated version of Common Core. You know, where I'm old school. They learn to do multi-digit multiplication the old way and long division and all of that. But, and of course, they got crazy because my eclectic homeschool self came out. And every time I had an opportunity to connect language with math and Spanish and Latin, I did it. Every time I had I just talked about so many things and where things come from and definitions in their life. I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Suck it up. I'm teaching you for the world. My favorite line to tell them would be, I'm not teaching you math because I expect you to use math every day. I'm teaching you math to build and teach your brain to look at problems from different ways and to figure out what you know and what you need to know and to do something hard. So when you end up in life that it has a hard problem, via relationships, situations at work, your brain is used to tackling something difficult, looking at it from all points of view and figure out how to solve it. And that's what I'm doing with math. I'm programming your brain to handle difficult situations. And they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. They'll appreciate it later. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And so anyways, I had to stay along the course and we were required to use Eureka Math, which is Engage New York, which is the flagship of Common Core. It was like upon death to me, but I did as I was told and taught as well as I could. I taught. And then we came to the end to realize that the school board was never supposed to accept those curriculums. And at that point, we began supplementing and then flipping that out in teaching. So I then own another curriculum that I think is wonderful. It's another one. It's on Teacher Pay Teacher. She has her own site. It's called Maneuvering the Middle. That's a really cool one. I look forward to doing a review on that one for you. So I don't know what tomorrow holds. Well, tomorrow holds Sunday, but I don't know exactly what my homeschool will look like next year. At this time, I'm working on, for certain, my oldest is back homeschooling. Medically, it has been a mess for her this year. And actually, I'm thankful. And I'm thankful we homeschooled this year. I mean, we have to deal with obstacles, or not homeschooled. We went to the public school. We have to deal with obstacles that came from that. But also, I've had to do a lot of trips to see specialists for my oldest with how sick she is. Chronic illness. For any of you that know or familiar with, we finally got a diagnosis after 7.5 years of tachycardia with dysautonomic function that may or may not be POTS. It's a mess. And it might be because of mold. And if you went back to those old videos, yeah, I was pretty bad. It was rough. So she's definitely home. In fact, her junior year, she could have graduated this year easily with just a few college classes, which she was doing really great in. Well, she flunked out of most of those with getting sick. And really, we're ending the year with just 2 credits for high school. She's just been that sick. And it's mind-boggling. Our heart-to-hearts is I still struggle with wanting her 10-year-old self to come back. She was unstoppable. And she's struggling with the fact that she doesn't think she'll be able to live on her own. Because when the attacks come, she doesn't know she can't take care of herself. And that's just, my oldest son, who could not wait to get to school. You know, he went in 8th grade, COVID hit. He's gone 9th, and now we're at the end of 10th. And he's come to where I've been. He wants out. He's done. He's like, homeschool me back. Do what I need to do. Let me work a little bit. I'm tired of the craziness. I'm like, you're there, buddy. So he's definitely homeschooling next year. My 8th grader, she would like to go to high school and go to school. And I'm just like, I don't know about that, baby. Not impressed. One of the things we ran into was in 8th grade, she took Algebra 1. And she wasn't really ready for it. And neither is most of the classes. But in order to get scores for the school, you want so many students passing algebra. She is one that's passing algebra who really needs another algebra class. So there's this aspect of, if I keep her in the school system, they're going to pass her along without her being ready to handle things, which I'm not thrilled about. And then my 6th grader, this is her first full year of school. I think she's somewhere between she loves it and she hates it, all in one. She's done really great, but I've seen how lazy she's gotten intellectually while being very dedicated with turning in deliverables, but intellectually she's gotten lazy. My third and my second and my first grader have just excelled. Reading, they're kind of top of their class. They're the helpers. And I can see real quick they're going to get bored. So my aspect was sending, my thought was, especially come March and February, is I don't want to go back to homeschooling like I've done before. We don't have room in the house. I love this space in here. And as much as we have room in here, we don't have room in here because people should have their own desk. Then there's no place to put. It's just hard. And I'm just like, I'll keep the 2. Maybe they'll do some college. Maybe they won't. Dual enroll and send everybody else to a private school. This way, my 8th grader can kind of start back fresh, doing algebra and being a different line. And then there's part of me that's just like, let's go back to homeschooling. Let's just go back to homeschooling. So that's kind of like where I stand. And what's funny is where I would be so picky about curriculum. So like for my son, we need to do some remediation because he was needing some help, but then there's so many people performing so low at the school he's at. He's really just normal, which I'm like, that's not good enough for me, and I'm so busy. I wish I would say I had time to tutor him, but I don't. That I'm like, okay, what would be a good English program to kind of give him a filler to go back and fill in what he's missed. And then my daughter is at the aspect of junior year. She's only got 2 English credits. We have the virtual school that we can take classes from, and she just can't engage on a computer with her being so sick. So what can I do? And this is like where the whole paradigm shift happens for me. After teaching so long, I realize every curriculum has its great points and its not great points. And sometimes I feel like I'm chasing a perfection that doesn't need to be. And what I'm saying is my child does not need to know everything they need to know in 3rd grade. You know, sometimes we're caught up trying to fix our own education lack of, that we really want our kids to be above and beyond us, graduating 5th grade, that they're beyond us where we were in high school. And that's easy because I was so low. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I kind of have a hard time because there's so much things. It's been fun talking with teachers and stuff because they're like, wait, how do you know that? How do you know that? Wait, you didn't go to school for that. How do you know that? And I can just tell them, I know that because I've homeschooled. I've read. I've learned more in the last 6-8 years than I've learned ever in my school raising. And it just has me thinking, like, you got to get out with the basics that you can be teachable at the college level. You don't have to come out as a mastermind. In high school, it's an unrealistic expectation. And it has me just going like, what will it take you to be functional so then you can be educated to be a master in whatever you need to be mastered in? And it's changed a lot. Like, I love Christian light education. You're going to be a master. It's very overwhelming. You're going to be a master. You kind of need a teacher with this one. This works. And I'm going to promise you, in the schools, they don't even use the whole book. It's secular. It's legit Holt and McDonald. You don't get an answer key. Good luck finding an answer key for this one. This works. All of it works. Some of it's going to be harder than others, and some of it's going to go for an extreme. Like, you can take this class and end up in college algebra. That's awesome. That's phenomenal. There's so many different things. You could take the virtual school. I'm just going to tell you, find what works. Some of it's deeper and harder and doesn't need to be. And some of it's just enough and you're fine. I can tell you, I hate to say this, but almost every class that's taught at my high school, I can just kind of piece together with a bit of a half effort, and we will do as good, if not better. And that scares me. My big aspect is I would love for them to go to private school, but then the time I lose and the money I spend to make that happen is hard for me to handle. But then the other aspect of having them home all the time, not having a break, fear of burning out, is also hard for me to handle. So that is what I'm contemplating. And that is what I've gained. I've gained a lot more. But as it comes up, I will share that with you and not give you 45-minute videos. So I'm going to talk to you later. I hope this little food for thought helps you out in the struggles you run into. And you don't have to walk the journey I've walked through to get to the place of understanding. And maybe you can learn from my journey, mistakes, and efforts. So I love you all very dearly. I'm happy to see you again. And I will be back soon to give you really a side-by-side comparison of all the algebra books I have. That's in the plan. And one day when I get it there, I will stick it here. Maybe, if I remember. So we'll talk to you later. As my kids like to say when I do it, peace out.